I always know what date I arrived in Vietnam. It was a Qantas flight, and it was just full of military people, and we had to go via Singapore. I was the only female on board, and you couldn't get out of the plane in Singapore in your military uniform because they didn't condone the war. So I had a dress and I had to change in the toilet area, which was very difficult. But the boys just stood up and they just changed their khaki shirts and put on a coloured shirt that they brought with them. So we all piled off onto the tarmac, and there were lots of khaki trousers and coloured shirts. I served at the first Australian field hospital in Vung Tau, Vietnam, and I served from the 21st of May 1968 to the 21st of May 1969. When I finished my training, I worked in casualty at Box Hill Hospital, where I trained for quite a while. So I did have some trauma nursing before I actually started. But when I joined the army, you had a form on the nursing side. This was, and they asked you whether you were interested in the theatre. And for some unknown reason, I ticked yes, and that's how I ended up as a theatre sister. We had two surgical wards, we had two medical wards, we had an intensive care unit, and we had the theatre. And of course you've got all the extra people around, you've got the cooks, you've got the queue store people. Your helicopters came in and your patients were stretchered in. You never quite knew what you were getting in the way of trauma injuries. We organised who was to be the first one in the theatre patient, the most severe, and then it went down the line, next one, and so on and so forth. It was busy, very busy, and of course the boys were very traumatised, some of them very, very ill and badly wounded. Once they got in the chopper and knew they were coming to a hospital, I think that helped them tremendously. They felt secure. I think that they were going to be looked after, and they were. And they really were wonderful patients. We did, as a group of nurses, we had about 6 or 7 of us and 2 Kiwis, 2 New Zealanders with us. We talked about things, and I think that was the way we decompressed a lot. On the weekends, sometimes if we had a day, we used to go to the children's area that the nuns were running, and it was really good for my theatre techs too, because a lot of them had family at home. It sort of lightened things up. They were away from the trauma and they were with kids, and it was really good. When we went to Vietnam, we had really no idea what we were going to. We had no briefing before we went, and we had no briefing when we came home. We weren't debriefed. I think it made me realise, that one day at a time, you never quite know what's coming around the corner. And I certainly, if I had my time over again, I'd do the same thing. It was an experience, certainly from a nursing point of view, it was an experience you wouldn't get anywhere else. But not only that, it was an experience, a life experience really. In a way, you have your normal family, and then you become within an army family. It's amazing how you can walk into an area with soldiers, sailors or airmen, whatever, and you very quickly you're back in an environment that you're aware of. It was a privilege to nurse them. I retired with senior rank, so I had to make a lot of decisions, and I had to send nurses to the Gulf War. It's easier to go to war than to send other people.